The Bloodline DLC for Watch Dogs Legion is really good. It's well written, funny, and just an exciting story campaign in a game that was lacking any main characters, because you could of course play with any London citizen instead. This mechanic has been thrown out of the window in this expansion. You will just see the Watch Dogs 1 style information when scanning people on the street, and yes, Aiden walks with his hands in his pockets, and we get to play Wrench too. I really think that if you are a fan of any of the Watch Dogs games, then Bloodline is really a must play, and I will tell you why in this spoiler-free review. I will tell you how much content there is and way more. So if you like the Watch Dogs content here on the channel, then totally leave a like to show your support. And let's go. Aiden gets a call in Chicago about a special job in London. Should be easy, grab the device from a facility and get out. But in this first mission of the DLC, you immediately run up to Wrench, who for some reason wants to get the device as well. I won't go into more details for spoiler reasons, but I think the setup is already interesting. They are fighting each other, not how you would predict a first confrontation between the two would go. You play the first part of the DLC as Aiden, who is also keen to see his nephew Jackson again. And Bloodline really feels like a sequel to Watch Dogs 1 in a way. Like, we do not only get to see these characters 15 years later, but also learn more about the impact of the events from that first game. Jackson will, for example, ask questions about the past to Aiden. Their relationship over the course of the DLC will take some interesting turns, and I just overall love how Aiden is way more human in this DLC. It was pretty hard for me to get attached to him in the first Watch Dogs game, but I really dig him here. He's older, speaks about his mistakes, is looking for a way out, but he keeps doing the dirty work because that is really what he does best. And it totally translates well to the gameplay because he's a ton of fun to play. He got his baton, of course, for melee combat and takedowns, his custom .357 revolver, which is a lethal powerhouse. And every time you reload the gun and time it right, you get a very noticeable damage buff, which more easily takes care of enemies. And this for every gun Aiden uses, by the way. Sure, it's nothing new, we've seen the mechanic before in games like Star Wars Battlefront and Gears of War, but it really adds some extra depth to the regular Legion gunplay. And Aiden, of course, has his hacking skills as well, and can with one ability hack everything in the environment, which opens up enemies for takedowns, after which you can do a slow motion to take the other targets out. Aiden really feels like this veteran gunslinger with, of course, his familiar hacking moves, and I cannot wait to play him in the main Legion campaign and the online modes. Worth noting though is that you do need the Season Pass to be able to play Aiden and Wrench in the other modes. I wasn't able to try that out yet, so we'll have a separate video about that up, because they should have recorded like the voice lines with these characters for the main campaign. So I'm really curious how replaying Legion with Aiden is going to feel. And maybe it's like the best way to play Legion if you haven't played the single player before. So more on that in a future video. In this video I want to focus on the expansion, which is $15. But you do need to own Legion in order to play it. It's still a self-contained version of the game though, which you can access from the main menu. You have to rediscover London again as Aiden, which of course makes sense. And it also takes place before the main story of Legion. They also completely changed the progression system. Now all the upgrades and weapons are side mission rewards, so you actually get something meaningful by completing them. And this also means that you can very easily unlock multiple weapons for Aiden and Wrench, which was very confusing to achieve for your operatives in the main game. The Legion Twitter account put up this infographic showcasing the amount of content in the DLC. It took me 5.5 hours to complete the main campaign. And again, then I'm talking about linear story missions with really well done writing and cutscenes. Something we just did not really have in the Watch Dogs Legion main game, because cutscenes were few and far between and your main character would mostly have a robotic voice. There's one point early on in the Bloodline DLC where you have to do some side missions before you can continue with the main story, but these side missions are also improved over the main Legion game. Sure, it still has you drive vehicles and hack chasing cars, cars or infiltrate restricted areas, but the objectives are a bit different and it's just fun to tackle them with Aiden or Wrench. You also have a brand new multi-drone tool which can switch from a spider bot to a flying drone with one press of the button. It's a really nice addition. Like, Bloodline does a great job of making the familiar gameplay feel fresh. Like, I mentioned the spider bot, but don't expect the puzzles we saw very often in the main Legion game. The only downside is that you will be going to a lot of familiar locations. If you, like me, played the Legion campaign and did a lot of missions in the online modes, then many of the restricted areas will be familiar. Sure, the new robot enemies change things up, and sometimes they do add some new like elements to these locations, but at the end of the day it's still the same camp. It would have been awesome if they added a new part of London to the map. That would have made this expansion even better. Like, there's still some new locations here and there, but they are few and far between. The side missions that you play as Wrench are, by the way, on another level, even if you go to familiar spots. I, again, won't share the details, but these really show the strength of the Watch Dogs series. They're super lighthearted, funny, and once again it confirms that it's just cool to hack a lot of things in a near future city. And damn, I really thought that I did not want to switch to Wrench, but man, was I wrong. You already see his playfulness when controlling Aiden, but when playing Wrench, it's an amazing time too. Like, they did not hold back with the sex jokes and the other snarky comments. Wrench is really Wrench, older and even crazier. It's really awesome to see this cast again, and it just makes it extra sad that a few years from now we will be looking back at Legion and then we will not have these strong personalities that we remember. Like, the play as anyone mechanic is great, especially in the online modes, and to be fair, playing this DLC with both Aiden and Wrench is really awesome, but seeing how good this DLC is, it also made me kinda sad, because I think it would have been way cooler to get a 20-hour main campaign like this instead of what we ended up getting with Legion. Bloodline really shows that Ubisoft still knows what the core identity of Watch Dogs is and what makes this series so special and fun. I'm just really curious what this means for the future of the franchise. In short, play this expansion if you love Watch Dogs, even if you only liked one of the games, and even if you did not like Legion. This expansion for $15 is more than worth it. I really hope they release it as like a standalone thing maybe later, which I can totally see happen, but it will likely be a while. For the like 7-8 hours that it takes to do everything in this DLC, it's really up to you if that's worth buying the Legion Gold Edition if you don't own the game yet. There are a lot of sales going on, so just keep an eye out and maybe you can get it cheap. Again, I will have a video up showcasing Aiden and Wrench in the online and the single player mode. Because again, if they really redid all the voice lines with Aiden and Wrench, then the single player from Region might actually be way more exciting to play. So totally subscribe for more Watch Dogs Legion content if you haven't already. A like on the video would really help me out, and totally check out my other Bloodline or Legion video by clicking on the screen. For now, I will speak to you next time. Goodbye!